The Caganer is a Catalan tradition that involves a clay figurine of a peasant squatting with his pants around his ankles, taking a shit. Confused? We'll try to explain.
What's the origin of the Slinky toy?
People who draw diagrams of icebergs have got it all wrong, and we'll explain why.
And finally, in this episode, we look at yawning, why we do it and why it's so contagious.
Hello and welcome to REMORANDOM, a celebration of everything interesting. I'm Remo Giuffre.
And I'm Claudia Chanshaw.
So Claudia, ticking down to your European trip, I know that you're frantically writing. What are you writing?
Oh, well, I'm writing about Art Nouveau in Prague, Brussels and Paris. So I'm very much in a Paris mood at the moment. I've been listening to Charles Aznavour to get me in the mood.
Yes, and I confused him with Charles Trenet, and I'm very sorry about that. But, you know.
That's all right. Yeah, all French, and they're both called Charles. So similar.
Anyway, speaking of writing, I wanted to tell you about one other thing that I was doing in my recent trip to the States, and that was hustling and socializing the idea for a sort of I'm going to call it a best of memorandum book, although it wouldn't be called that. But the idea is that we have our community, our insiders, our subscribers, our readers who are enthusiastic about the biannual books, and self-publishing is fun and we get to control every square millimeter, but it's like forcing a dam of water through a tiny little pinhole in terms of getting distribution. And so I have periodically toyed with the idea of involving an agent and a potential publisher who will take this content and spirit of what we're doing with Memorandum and, you know, recast it as something that kind of is optimized to work better in, you know, bookshops and out there in the wild where everything else is. So always paddling, ever hopeful, had some great meetings. I love a bit of positive feedback, so I'll keep everybody posted on what happens there. But
I'm excited for you.
Inch by inch, anything's a cinch, as the guy who ran Keel's Pharmacy used to say to me when we first started selling his cosmetics. So today's first topic comes from the memorandum number 1, the red book, and it's one of those odd international ones. It's about something called the Caganer. The Caganer, which in Catalan literally translates to the shitter. I'm sorry for my language. The
nice.
shitter. Yeah. It's a traditional Christmas figurine. Yeah, this is the weird bit. That's often hanging around nativity scenes, depicted as this peasant wearing a baratina cap, a classic baratina cap, squatting with his pants down around his ankles, with his bum exposed, and having just taken a shit, when the shit's usually there, sort of sitting on the ground underneath said Caganer.
Merry Christmas.
And he's also often smoking a pipe or reading a newspaper. So this is pretty odd. I really didn't kind of believe it when I first came across it. I thought, this has got to be a joke. But it's not a joke, and it's it's been part of Catalan Christmas tradition since the 18th century. So the origins are a little bit hazy. Some say that it represents fertilization of the earth. That's one way to do it.
Makes sense.
And as a symbol of good luck and prosperity. Others suggest that the Caganer may have originally been a way to poke fun at the wealthy and powerful, because the other thing about the Caganer is that there's lots of little ceramic models of famous people in Caganer mode, all doing their own shit. And in fact, on I didn't have room enough to put all the ones that I wanted to put there, but I think in the book I do have Pope Francis, may he rest in peace. I do have Frida Kahlo, and I do have Homer Simpson and Obama, all squatting with their pants around their ankles. So it's an important part of Catalan culture. And so much so that in 2005, the Barcelona City Council thought, it's time to do away with this vulgar tradition. And they left the Caganer out from the nativity scene in the city. And there was this public outcry. Many saw it as an assault on Catalan tradition. And there was a campaign against the Caganer's absence called, understandably enough, Salvem el Caganer, save the Caganer, and widespread media criticism. So in 2006, the Caganer was restored. So this has spread to other parts of Spain and beyond, and in fact, there's a global society called Friends of the Caganer, founded in 1990. I'm sure there's an Australian. If you're an Australian member of the Friends of the Caganer, can you please be in touch with us?
Yeah, we want to know.
And explain yourself. And they meet twice a year. And as I say in the book, no shit.
No shit. Hey, can you imagine if the Caganer was inserted into the nativity scene at St Mary's Cathedral in Sydney? Ooh.
Oh, there'd be hell to pay.
Yeah, the shit would hit the fan.
We don't cope with that sort of stuff down here.
That's a great tradition. I think that's a lovely Christmas tradition.
Okay, I know what to get you for your birthday then.
Well, I'd actually rather you got me a Slinky toy.
Okay.
If you don't mind, you don't mind, and I suppose it's a leveler because the Caganer, all those famous people, everybody does that. Everybody takes a poo. So I suppose it brings everybody in the same level, doesn't it?
The great leveler.
Yeah. So Slinky toys. I'd rather you gave me one of these. I did actually have a collection of these. I used to use them for window displays during spring. Get it? Anyway, so in 1943.
Did you really do that? Did you really?
I did. And I'd have all these graphics saying spring into spring, and they'll get boing, boing. Okay. So 1943. Mechanical engineer Richard James was designing a device that the US Navy could use to secure equipment onto ships when they rocked at sea. I suppose it's like those heavy decanters. You want something that's not going to go sliding off the table on the high sea. So the story goes that he accidentally dropped the little coil wires that he was tinkering with from the shelf. And he watched as the spring stepped and went boing,
doing,
and it fell down to a stack of books, and then it walked and went to a tabletop, and then it went onto the floor, and then it regrouped, recalled itself, and stood upright, and he thought, I've got something here. This is a thing. So he went home and he told his wife, Betty, I've got this great idea I want to develop into a toy, but what are we going to call it? So Betty's going through the dictionary for a proper name, and she comes up with Slinky, which means sleek and sinuous in movement or outline. So together, they go and get a $500 loan, and they co-found James Industries in 1945, and they produce 400 units of the Slinky. So in November that year, they managed to convince Gimbel's department store in Philadelphia to let them do a demo during the Christmas trade. And they set up this inclined plane in the toy section for the demonstration, and the Slinky is going ping pong, ping pong, ping pong, walking down this plank, and it's an instant hit. They sell all 400 units in one go at $1 a pop. So it happens that Mr. James was a bit of a philanderer, which is really not a good look for a father of six. And in 1960, he dramatically exited the family and bought a one-way ticket to rural Bolivia and joined what Betty was calling an evangelical Christian cult somewhere deep in the Bolivian wilderness. Betty's left with this fledgling company. It's in pretty poor shape because James had given away all the profits to evangelical Christian organisations over the years.
Sprung.
So she manages a Slinky revival. In 1962, she gets 3 musicians to come up with a jingle for the Slinky that she wants to use for a TV advert campaign. And the jingle goes, everyone wants a Slinky. You want to get a Slinky. And it works. It rejuvenates the toy, and it goes on to be the longest running jingle in television history. So by the time Betty sells James Industries to the toy manufacturer Poof Products Incorporated for a boatload of money in 1998, it had sold more than 300 million Slinky toys. Turns out the Slinky is not just a toy. During the Vietnam War, soldiers were able to use a Slinky as a wonderful extendable antenna for their radios. And they put one end of it on themselves and they toss the other end over a tree to get a clear signal. The Slinky's even been into space. So the Slinky is a marvellous, marvellous thing. It's a wonderful prop. It's a great toy. And they never go wrong.
Well, that's not quite true. Because they do.
Or what?
Mine always got a kink in, like if you treat them too roughly and they get a kink in the middle, that's very unsatisfying. To look at a Slinky that has a kink in the middle and you can't, it doesn't.
A kinky Slinky.
It doesn't slink properly. It doesn't slink properly.
You can't have a
Built-in
kinky
redundancy.
Slinky. No, you can't have a kinky Slinky. You've got to look after them. You've got to treat them
I do
well.
like that, holding a Slinky in your hands.
Oh, yeah.
And
That's a great feeling, isn't it?
It makes a nice, satisfying noise.
It does. I love a Slinky.
All right, I like the Slinky story. Thank you for that. Jumping forward to book number 2, very controversial topic. This one.
What's that?
The title of the story is "The Truth About Icebergs," and I'm kind of partial to an iceberg, not real icebergs, but iceberg diagrams. I love an iceberg diagram.
Okay.
Where you're a little bit above the water and most of it below the water. And, I was trying to explain the philosophy of the old Remo store, I would often pull out this iceberg diagram that had the tip of the iceberg as the product that we sold, but all of the stuff underneath the surface of the water, the stories, the history, the experiences, the culture, so it was kind of communicating all of that, 90%, so that people wanted to buy the little shiny bit that poked from the surface.
The sticky outy bit.
Anyway, it turns out me and just about all of the stock image services have been conducting this vast iceberg disinformation conspiracy, because icebergs do not look like the way I draw them and the way they appear in stock photo libraries, where they look like nice little mountains, with a little pointy bit on below. They don't look like submerged mountains. That state would not actually be stable. So this geophysicist, Henry Pollock, in an article in 2019 called "The Tip of the Icebergs" in Physics Today, he proved that that typical little mountainous iceberg that you see, in pictures and drawings, would actually, to be stable, would sort of more or less lie on its side, showing a big long strip of ice rather than a little pointy bit. So let's not get into the business of fake news, and let's restore truth back to all of the school projects and the metaphor drawers in the world. So in 2021, a glaciologist and climate scientist, Megan Thompson Munson, posted a tweet. That's what they were called then, by the way, a tweet, with an accompanying image. And it said, quote unquote, "Today I channeled my energy into this very unofficial but passionate petition for scientists to start drawing icebergs in their stable orientations. I went to the trouble of painting a stable iceberg with my watercolors." So she had this little picture of an iceberg in the tweet. Now, that tweet was seen by someone, Joshua Tabra, a software developer and civic technologist, Gee, people have good job titles these days, don't they?
Yeah, they do.
And he got on board with the campaign, and he quickly coded an iceberg simulation so that you could draw, go online, pull up his simulation and draw something, any shape, and then wait, and it would move and reorient and stop at the point where it would be stable in the water. So it was kind of a nice interactive game, and lots of people had fun experimenting with various shapes. The Twitterverse was a flurry with icebergs, and as it happens, a heart-shaped iceberg will stay pretty much straight up, as would the head of a unicorn. So someone drew a head of a unicorn. Not that you would get an iceberg that shape, but so...
A unicorn's real.
That's another chapter. We'll get to that. We'll get to that. So I like the obsession. Was good. The specificity of the obsession, like
Yes,
iceberg,
very good.
iceberg truth and righteousness, and so I will never draw an iceberg the same way again. And what
Okay,
about
I'm
you?
sure-
I know you're always drawing icebergs, so.
Oh well, in deference to the captain of the Titanic and our friends who didn't make it that day, I stay away from them. I don't go
Right.
near icebergs.
Okay.
But I want
that's
to
me.
tell you, I want to tell you about something, and in reading this wonderful story, I've been yawning.
Oh, it's
I
making me
mean-
want.
I
It's
mean-
making me want to yawn.
Ugh. I've been yawning. Yawning is this common physiological response that involves opening the mouth wide and taking a deep breath, and then followed by a long exhalation. Now, interestingly, we're not the only beings that do this. Animals, vertebrate animals, including mammals and birds and reptiles and amphibians and even fish, they're not breathing,
That's
they're
fish
yawning.
sound. That's fish sound.
Yeah, that's a fish sound. They all experience yawning, and the study of yawning is called chasmology.
Oh,
So yawning's often associated with tiredness. You go, I stretch, and it's observed when people are getting ready to go to sleep or when they're waking up. And yawning can also occur in response to boredom, stress,
yes.
anxiety, even certain medical conditions. So it can be, just a sign of sleep disorders. But the reason that we all yawn is not exactly understood, and it's still ongoing, the research. It's believed to increase oxygen intake. I always thought of it as an involuntary gas for air to give you more oxygen into the system and to, regulate you. Seeing, hearing, or thinking about yawning can trigger yawns in others. Are you yawning yet? It's linked to...
Nearly yawning. I'm nearly yawning. Go on.
It's linked to social and empathetic behavior. So that's where you get contagious yawning. So, if you're yawning and then somebody else yawns.
And then the whole subway is yawning.
That's right. Everybody's yawning. Now, animals do it. Chimpanzees, dog, cats, birds, reptiles. Imagine a little snake going. A study in London suggested that contagious yawning could pass from an animal to a dog. So they did this study. 21 out of 29 doggies yawned when a stranger yawned in front of them. But they didn't yawn when the stranger just opened their mouth and it wasn't a real yawn. So it had to be a genuine yawn,
wow.
not a fakie. So they said that maybe this was a sign of bonding between man and dog. So even way back in 1508, Erasmus wrote, "One man's yawning makes another yawn." So even reading about people yawning or us talking about yawning can make people yawn.
Can make people yawn, yeah. No,
Yep.
I when someone's been looking at you on the bus or something, if you yawn and then quickly look around and someone else is yawning, that means that they were looking at you.
Oh,
It's
okay.
a trick. It's a trick.
Major look. I tried the dog thing. I put my face in my dog's face and I went, and it was a genuine yawn and it didn't work. So he's one of the, the 21 out of 29. He's one of the others.
You'll have
the
to
8
get that dog
that
checked
didn't
out.
yawn.
The non-yawning dog. All right.
Wake up, Remo, wake up.
Oh, I'm so tired. So
It's
tired
because we're talking about yawning.
after that story.
I like that. Contagious yawning is true.
Yeah.
It's like, somebody does that with their hair and then you touch your hair. It's funny.
You know how that made it into the book? I was in a hire car in Taiwan driving back from some event, and it was like a minibus and there were a whole bunch of people in there. Someone yawned, and then someone else yawned, and then someone else yawned, and then someone else yawned. Anyway, so we started talking about yawning, and that's when I said, hey, this is interesting. Let's write about
interesting.
it. Yeah, so I credited it to someone who was in the car, whose name I can't remember at the moment, but
The person who yawned.
the person
They what yawned.
they what yawned got the story. All right, that's all for this episode, Claudia.
I like that. Thank you.
I'm just going to go and have a little nap, and I'll see you back here next time.
And you at home, if you're listening and you think, oh, look, I've got a better story than the yawning caper, then drop us a note, remorandom.com, or email us, hello@remorandom.com, and give us some ideas. We'd love to hear them.
And if you don't have our books on your shelf, there's nearly 4 of them available now, and you can order them all at remorandom.com. Bye, Claudia. See you next time.
See you, Remo. Bye.